Good morning, or good afternoon, depends on what time of day I have you. Seventh graders. So, what we are going to be doing is just going through a few graphs. So, anytime we have a graph, you always have to look at what is it actually showing us, or what is it actually talking about. So, when I look at this first one, the title is e-cigarette. Use among youth is rising as e-cigarettes advertising grows. So, what you're looking at here is a direct correlation, you could say, in 2011 versus 2014. The amount of dollars spent is the green in advertising, and in the past 30 days, the e-cigarette use among youth is going up with it. So the more they advertise, the more youth is using it. Now, first of all, people are always going to get kind of confused with the independent and dependent variable. Most of the time, the independent variable is going to be right here on the x-axis. So right here, what's the independent variable would be the years, because I'm choosing to test those years. The other thing you could look at too is just saying the e-cigarette use, or not the use, but e-cigarette. You're looking at that in these particular years. Now, what's going to be your dependent variable is going to be the dollars spent on advertising. Okay, and if you look at this, it is also on this one, it's going to be cigarette use in youth. So this one, for example, would have two dependent variables. And that's one thing you have to check on. It's not always just one and one. Sometimes there's two graphs in one. So like this one. And now that's why we're doing something like this, because we've practiced enough of the other ones. So we are looking at other types of graphs. How many students vape? Well, percents of students reported vaping last year. Any vaping, vaping nicotine, vaping marijuana or hash oil, vaping just flavoring. Now, if I'm looking at this is 8th graders, 10th graders, and 12th graders. And what are you looking at here? First of all, what would be the independent variable? It's going to be the 8th, 10th, and 12th graders. And choose other grades, it shows those grades. And then what's going to be your dependent variable? What are you measuring? Is the number, the percent of students. Okay? Now, you can kind of see here there's a trend in each one, and they're all kind of these a trend. Now, if I were to ask you, is this an upward trend? Definitely. Starting from 8th grade, going to 12th grade, you can see how that is increasing. Okay? And you can see it across the board. It doesn't staying anywhere from 8th to 10th to 12th. Okay, let's look at another graph. Here's streaming drives. So the global music industry resurgence. So we're going to start in 2001 and we're going to go to 2018. So there's a lot going on in this graph. This isn't your normal graph. This is kind of like a line graph, because it would just be a whole bunch of different lines, but they shaded it in to show the difference. So first of all, music sales, physical. In 2001, a physical music sale would be like a CD, something like that, because back in 2001, that's basically all there was. There was some things like Napster and some streaming services, but they're so new. Okay, now we fast forward here, and we can see gray is others. You'd have to research this more to find out what is actually the others. So as we go through here, eventually we get digital music. So this is everything but streaming. And you're like, oh, there it is. And then suddenly that's dipping down. And then 2008, Spotify launches in parts of Europe. Okay? And the yellow isn't Spotify. It's just using Spotify as an example. Yellow is streaming music. And you can see stream music actually is going down. Late 2000s, how you streamed it, a lot of places you would buy songs as MP3s off of like Russian sites for 5 cents and things like that. But 2011, Spotify launches in the US, and now you can see here, and now it's a $20 billion business and keeps going up. So looking at this graph, your independent variable is going to be the years, of course, that you're testing. And what's your dependent variable is the amount of money spent in dollars. And you can see this, 2001, Apple released first iPod, 2003, iTunes Store, 2015, debuts Apple Music. So you can see the difference of all of these different things. I think it's a neat graph because if I was asking here, is this an upward trend? Well, it depends what you're looking at. It's an upward trend for streaming. It's a definitely downward trend for the physical, I'm buying a CD music, because those stores don't even exist anymore. But records are on the rise, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here in the next couple of years. So will this keep going up? Why or why not? Your independent, or when you look at 10 years down the road, trying to predict what it would be, is streaming going to continue? All right, let's look at the last one. The last graph we're going to look at here is two graphs. One is losing interest, and the other one's called rising cost of youth sports. These are two different graphs right here, split down the middle. So let's look at this one. Losing interest. U.S. youth baseball participation, ages 7 to 17 in millions. So we're going from 2000 to 2013. 2013. Looks like in 2000 we're upwards close to almost 9 million, and now you're down to 5.3. It also notes here that football participation is down. This covers both male and female participation in each sport. So if you're looking at this, you're seeing this is a downward trend. Now, again, when I'm looking at this, your independent variable here is going to be the years and the sport you're choosing. So it's the years and then baseball participation. And then, of course, your dependent variable is how many millions of students or youth are participating. It's actually three graphs. So now we have a line graph and we have our infographic. The U.S. Sport participation ages 7 through 17. Baseball, you can see from 2000 to 13, down. Softball down. Basketball down. Soccer's down. Football tackle is up a little bit, but they did have this asterisk which goes with this. The entire participation is down, but just kind of interesting to see. Now, this would be one is, why do you think there's a downward trend in all of these sports? Is there a correlation with something else? And that's why we look at graphs, is to figure out if there's something else going on, basically. And if you look at this, what's going to happen in another 10 years, thinking in that downward trend? Is this going to continually go down? And the last one is the rising cost of youth sports. Nearly 2 out of 10 families are spending nearly $1,000 per month on elite youth sports. Amount of sports parents say they spend per child on athletics. So this is breaking it up. When looking at this, you can see here it's 100 to 500, about 63% of parents. 500 to 1,000, about 18%. 1,000 to 2,000, 11, and then over 2,000 is 8. And that's kind of a crazy graphic to think about, I think, looking at the aspect of me. I played sports. I was in college football. I played basically 4 different sports in high school. I enjoyed them. But what does this all mean?